All right, and I'm going to just take a roll call to make sure everyone is back. Maria, are you back?
Here.
Thank you, Maria. Jake, are you back?
Yes.
Thank you, Jake. Cheryl? Cheryl? And we'll come back for Cheryl. Jose, are you back?
Hey, I'm sorry. I just got off a call I was on. I'm back.
Oh, no worries. Hi,
Oh.
Cheryl.
Okay. Hi.
Jose, are you back?
I am back.
Thank you, Jose. Shirley?
Yes.
Thank you, Shirley. Kula?
Yes, I'm back for about 30
Okay.
minutes.
Okay, no worries. Just text us when you leave or just announce depending on where we are in the meeting. Ricardo?
I'm here.
Okay, thank you, Ricardo. Nicole?
Here.
Hi, Nicole. Debbie, are you back?
I'm here.
Thank you, Debbie. Jason?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Jason. Okay, all right. And I'm here. Now with that, agenda item 14, Communication and Public Education Committee report. I will now turn the floor over to Ricardo Sanchez, Chairperson to the Communication and Public Education Committee, to provide a report on behalf of the committee. Chair Sanchez, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Again, my name is Ricardo Sanchez, and I'm the chair of the Communication and Public Education Committee. First, start by introducing our members. Jason Weiss, who's our vice chairman, Jose de la Paz, member, and also Shirley Kim, who's a member, Kula Koenig, and Nicole Kibo. With that, we'll just move into this report. And this is a report from the Communication and Public Education Committee meeting.
Member Sanchez, I'm sorry, this is the moderator. Your volume keeps fading in and out. Are you perhaps moving your head back and forth away from your microphone? Sometimes for certain microphones that can happen.
I'm going to keep it right here.
Not able to hear you right now.
Anyways, going back to the
Ricardo, I think we're having trouble hearing you.
Maybe you could dial in via audio, if that would help, or maybe the vice chair could take over.
No, I got it. You guys hear me okay now?
Yes, this is better.
Okay, here we go. Okay, here we go. This is the committee report for January 19th, 2022 that we just had. And this is a review of educational materials regarding how to file a complaint under SB 362 and general whistleblower protections under California law. Some of the background. As noted in the committee report, Senate Bill 362 took effect January 1st, 2022. The new law prohibits community chain pharmacies from using quotas to evaluate the job performance of a pharmacist or pharmacy technician. The law also authorizes the board to take enforcement action for violations. At previous meetings, board members asked about a complaint process and whistleblower protections for licensees alleging violations of SB 362. The board requested educational materials to implement the law, including information on filing complaints and whistleblower protections. At the committee meeting, staff identified materials that could be leveraged to implement a complaint process for licensees. For example, the board has resources for consumer complaints, including a brochure and an online complaint form. These could be revised to include licensee complaints related to performance quotas. Alternatively, the board could create a separate form for SB 362. Staff drafted simple text for a possible brochure for licensee complaints. The sample text is in the committee's report under the title, "Do you have a complaint about a pharmacy performance quota?" Regarding whistleblower protections, staff noted SB 362 does not include any such protections. However, California law does provide general protections for workers alleging employer violations of laws or regulations. For example, a workplace notice regarding whistleblower protections from the State Division of Labor Standards Enforcement discusses protections for employees. The notice also advises employees to report possible violations to a state whistleblower hotline. Staff suggested identifying whistleblower resources such as these in educational materials about filing complaints related to SB 362. During the committee discussion, the committee asked if a licensee who files a complaint could remain anonymous, and if the board could decline to share a licensee's identity with the pharmacy. Staff said the board does investigate anonymous complaints, but they can be difficult because investigators may need additional information about the complainant. Council noted the board may not be able to shield a complainant's identity from discovery requests in administrative hearings or from subpoenas in complaints that amount to violations of federal law. Committee members said their educational materials about SB 362 should explain these confidentiality issues to licensees. The committee also directed staff to include information about whistleblower resources in educational materials. In addition, members supported the draft text for a proposed brochure for licensees on how to file complaints related to SB 362. In public comments, speakers from the California Pharmacists Association and the UFCW Western States Council also expressed support for these types of educational materials for licensees. The committee voted to approve the following recommendation to the board. Recommend approval of establishing a complaint process specifically for pharmacy employees and include references to whistleblower protections as well as provisions for anonymity and confidentiality consistent with legal provisions. We recommend a motion on this by the board. The board, first of all, is there any board member comments? Anybody have a comment on this, on the board? Okay, hearing none, can we open it up to public comments, commentator? I mean,
This is the moderator. We've opened
moderator,
that Q&A.
sorry.
We've opened that Q&A panel. If you'd like to comment on this item, please click on that Q&A icon, type comment into the text field, and submit that to our panelists. Our first comment comes from Danny Martinez. Danny, I've sent the request to unmute your microphone.
Thank you, moderator. This is Danny Martinez with the California Pharmacists Association. We support this motion. We thank the committee and the chair for working on this. We do believe this is a really important issue. As I'll mention again, as we've heard, it's very difficult at times for pharmacists to submit these complaints for fear of retaliation. So we support this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next comment comes from Jazzy Graywall. Jazzy, I've sent the request to unmute your microphone.
Hear me?
We can.
Wonderful. This is Jazzy Graywall here on behalf of UFCW Western States Council. First, just want to express support for this motion and thanks to the board and the committee for putting together these materials. I would just like, and also would like to echo the comments made by Danny Martinez with the California Pharmacists Association. I do just have one suggestion, which is that ensuring that the board have direct communication with the PICs about these new requirements and whistleblower protections so that they can advise the pharmacists and pharmacy technicians that are in that pharmacy. So just wanted to urge the board to have direct communication with the PICs and the community chain pharmacies. Thank you for the time today.
Thank you.
And not seeing any other requests, I will close the panel.
Hey, thank you. From here, let's see, President Sungo, can you call for a vote on the recommendation?
Of course. Thank you, Chair Cheryl, go ahead and, sorry,
Oh, I didn't see it. I think we had a question from one of our board members.
Cheryl, did you raise your hand there?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Ann, is that something that in the class that our PICs would be receiving, that is something that could be mentioned in the CE class?
Oh, I certainly think if that's something that the board would like us to include, the reference, we're already going to be including different kinds of references, right? Because this training is like overview kinds of stuff. So happy to either put reference and links to those things, or we can even add a slide or two, whatever the preference is.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you.
Okay.
Hey, Cheryl. All right, thank you. All right, we're going to go for the vote. Maria, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you, Maria. Jake, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you, Jake. Cheryl, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you, Cheryl. Jose, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you, Jose. Shirley, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you, Shirley. Kula, if you're still here, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you. Ricardo, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you, Ricardo. Nicole, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you, Nicole. Debbie, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you, Debbie. And Jason, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you, Jason. And I vote yes. The motion passes. Back to you, Chair Sanchez.
Thank you. Let's move on to item B, which is our last item. And if you want to brief the board here on the updates on the script and the projects under development, staff outreach, and the new media stuff, please go right ahead.
Oh, sure. Happy to do so. Thank you. Thank you, Chairperson Sanchez and members. We have written updates included in the meeting materials. Thank you, Bob Davila. The script is our newsletter, and we typically try to do it 2 to 3 times a year. So we are hopeful that our next issue of the script will be released in early February. There will be many different types of topics in there, but one of the primary things that we will be focusing on are changes in pharmacy law that took effect January 1. And again, that's really just intended to make sure that licensees are well aware of the changes that have occurred that would be impacting their practice. We're also going to be highlighting a couple of other things. We do have a newsletter article and draft that's also talking about vaccinations and some of the challenges that we are seeing, or some of the types of errors that we are seeing with vaccine administration right now. So we're trying to keep it relevant to things that are happening in the practice as well. So that's really kind of where the main focus of the script will be. The main project under development by the committee is evaluating the self-assessment process and determining if there's potentially alternative means by which a pharmacist in charge can perform this really important function. I think as a board, recognizing the extreme value of the self-assessment process and maybe thinking that there may be opportunities to provide better engagement by the PICs in the self-assessment process to look at it being more meaningful. So along those lines, we have reached out to the Department of Consumer Affairs and are working with their Office of Organizational Improvement Office on looking at use cases to develop what the current process kind of looks like, and if there are ways to leverage technology to make it a little bit more interactive and or engaging for the PIC as an alternative means. I don't know, based on what the IT solutions are or what the solutions are, it will be up to the board to determine whether or not they want to mandate a different type of or a specific pathway with which to comply with the provisions. So that's also under development. And then we did include also some of the staff outreach that has been done. With the pandemic, most of the outreach that we are doing is over WebEx. Have had an opportunity to do a couple of things in person, but primarily everything is still continuing to be done over WebEx or another technology platform. Turn it back to you, Chairperson Sanchez. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there any board member comments on any items we just Ann just went over? Okay, hearing none, can we open it up for public comments?
This is the moderator. We've opened that Q&A panel. If you'd like to comment on any of the items just covered, please click on that Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to our panelists. And seeing none, I will close the panel.
Oh, okay, thank you. I'd like to take this time just to thank Ann, Bob, Davila, and also the staff who work on putting all this together for us. I know they do a lot of work behind the scenes here for the different committees, but they do fabulous work. And I just wanted to recognize that, or let it be known that they're, that we appreciate the work that they're doing. With that, this concludes the report of the Communication and Public Education Committee. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chair Sanchez, on all the work you and your committee do. Really appreciate your time and dedication. Okay, moving on to the next agenda, item 15, Legislation and Regulation Committee report. The next committee for discussion is the Legislation and Regulation Committee. As the chair of the committee, I will be providing the report. Starting with agenda item 15A, discussion and consideration of draft of frequently asked questions related to Senate Bill 212, Chapter 1004, Statutes of 2018, Solid Waste, Pharmaceutical, and Sharps Waste Stewardship. The meeting materials provide background information, including some of the relevant provisions of the law. As noted, under provisions of the bill, covered entities are required to report specified information to the board, including a list and description of drugs or sharps that are considered covered or not covered. As the board has undertaken implementation of the stewardship law with Cal Recycle, staff have identified several common questions related to the board's purview for the stewardship programs. To assist covered entities and others with an understanding of the requirements, frequently asked questions have been developed. The FAQs have been reviewed by staff at the California Department of Public Health and Cal Recycle. During our meeting last week, the committee considered the draft FAQs. I note that as part of the committee's discussion, we have requested that the documents be updated to include opening information as well as links to relevant sections of the law itself. The updated version of the FAQs is included in the meeting materials. Members, displayed on the slide is the one more there, is the committee's recommendation, which is approval of the FAQs. Any member comments or questions? Okay, with that, with the committee's recommendation serving as the motion, moderator, if you could please open the line for public comment.
This is the moderator. We've opened that Q&A panel. If you'd like to comment on this motion, please click on that Q&A icon on the screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to our panelists. And seeing none, I will close the panel.
Thank you, Shelley. Okay, with that, we will take a roll call vote. Maria, how do you vote?
Yes.
Thank you, Maria. Jig?
Yes.
Thank you, Jig. Cheryl?
Yes.
Thank you, Cheryl. Jose?
Yes.
Thank you, Jose. Shirley?
Yes.
Thank you, Shirley. Kula?
Yes.
Thank you, Kula. Ricardo?
Yes.
Thank you, Ricardo. Nicole?
Yes.
Thank you, Nicole. Debbie?
Yes.
Thank you, Debbie. Jason?
Yes.
Thank you, Jason. And I vote yes, the motion passes. Okay, moving on to the next agenda, item 15B, discussion and consideration of California Coda Regulations, Section 1717 and 1717.4 related to electronic prescriptions, including possible changes. The next item for discussion is possible changes to sections 1717 and 1717.4 related to electronic prescriptions. As you recall, effective January 1st, 2022, most prescriptions are required to be e-prescribed. The provisions are detailed out in Business and Professions Code Section 6088, which became effective January 1st, 2022. As noted in the meeting materials, to remove conflicts between the statute and regulations, amendments to the regulations are necessary. After discussion by the committee, however, the committee is not offering action at this time. As the chair of the committee, I will continue to monitor this issue with the executive officer, and if necessary, bring forward a solution for future consideration. Members, do you have any questions or comments? Okay, with that, moderator, please open the line for public comment.
This is the moderator. The Q&A panel is again open. To make a request for public comment, use that Q&A icon to send the word comment to our panelists. And seeing none, I will close the panel.
Thank you so much, Shelley. Okay. With that, we're moving on to the next agenda item, item 15C, discussion and consideration of pending legislation impacting the practice of pharmacy, the board's jurisdiction, or board operations. Included in the meeting materials is information on 4 measures that we reviewed last year. I note that staff have reached out to the prospective author's office to request status updates. The first measure, Assembly Bill 458, would create the Affordable Prescription Drug Importation Program. I note that the board did not take a position last year. The author's office has indicated that they have not made a decision to move the bill at this time. The committee does not believe any action is required at this time. Members, any comments? Okay, moderator, please open the line for public comment.
Our Q&A panel is open for comment. Please use that Q&A icon to submit the word comment to our panelists. Not seeing any requests. And President O, if I may suggest, I can leave the Q&A panel open as we walk through each of these 4 bills, and then
Sure.
People can
As
submit
long
the
as-
request as we go.
Sure, Eileen, if that's okay, confirm that's fine, then we're good to go. Okay, the next measure is Assembly Bill 646, which would require professional licensing boards under the department that post information on their internet website about a revoked license due to a criminal conviction to update or remove information about the revoked license should the board receive an expungement order related to the condition. The board did not establish a position on this measure. The committee is not recommending any action at this time. Members, any comments? Okay, moderator, the line is open for public comment.
The line is open.
Okay,
seeing
moving
any
on to the
requests.
next bill, Assembly Bill 1328 would amend several provisions of the law to expand authority for pharmacists to provide CLIA waive tests with some exceptions. The exceptions include CLIA waive tests that are used for surgery, diagnosis, or treatment of heart failure, female fertility, or ovulation prediction. The measure generally also includes requirements for notification to primary care providers or other specified physician for any abnormal test results. The board has a support position on the measure. Staff was advised by the author's office that a decision on the measure will be made sometime this year. Again, members, the committee does not believe any action is required at this time. Any Any comments from members? And I see someone did submit. So
We
go
do?
ahead. Yep.
All right, we have a request for comment from Keith Yoshizuka. Keith, I've sent a request to unmute your microphone.
Keith Yoshizuka, California Society of Health System Pharmacists. We're working with the Assembly Member Irwin to amend the bill because the Board of Pharmacy's bill regarding CLIA-waive test passed the legislature and was signed by the governor. We're planning on deleting language regarding the CLIA-waive test, but wish to proceed removing the restriction that the patient already be on drug therapy in order for pharmacists to order such tests, enabling pharmacists to engage in public health screening to detect disease in its earlier stages. As the board well knows, treating disease in its early stages is a lot easier and it's more effective than catching chronic disease later on in a progress where we see more comorbidities. Thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Thank you for the comment, Dr. Yoshizuka. I don't see any other comments, so moving right on. Members, the last measures is Senate Bill 731. The board established an oppose unless amended position on this measure because it will impede the board's authority to consider relevant arrest and conviction information prior to making a licensing decision. As noted in the meeting materials, as a consumer protection agency, the board must have full information to evaluate an individual's background prior to making a licensing decision. The author's office indicates that they intend to move the bill this year. The committee is not recommending any changes. Members, any comments? Okay, hearing none, I will check any comment, anyone submitted for comments? Does not seem so.
Not seeing any.
We'll wait a little bit as this is the it. Okay, so we're moving on to agenda Nm15d Regulations. The remaining items for information are information only as detailed in the meeting materials and associated attachments. The board has a number of regulations in various stages of promulgation. I do not intend to review each as the information is contained in the public materials. I would like to announce that there have been some changes in the status of some regulations since the release of the agenda. Board's regulation related to ownership, management, and control of business entities was recently approved by the OAL. The regulation change will become effective April 1st, 2022. The board address change notification, CCR 1704, was recently approved by the Office of Administrative Law. The regulation becomes effective April 1st, 2022. And finally, the board's regulation related to administering vaccines was also recently approved. The regulation becomes effective on January 25. It is already effective of 2022 immediately upon approval of OAL. The board has one regulation undergoing pre-notice review and one regulation with staff to prepare the necessary rulemaking documents required to initiate the formal process. Any member comments or questions on all the regulations? As we took some actions today, there will be a lot more going in there as well. Moderator, please open the line for public comments.
The Q&A panel is open. If you'd like to make a comment on these regulation packages, please click on that Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to our panelists. And seeing no requests, I will close the panel.
Thank you so much, moderator. And just for the record, Kula has departed temporarily. She might be back in about half an hour. So hopefully we can reflect that in the minutes. Moving on to agenda item 16, Organizational Development Committee report. I will now provide an update on several items under the purview of the Organizational Development Committee. First, the budget. The board spending authorization for the current fiscal year, 21-22, is $30.56 million, which is a 3% increase from the prior year. The largest source of revenue comes from licensing fees, and the board's largest expenditure is personnel. A review of the fund condition prepared by the department indicates that at the end of the current fiscal year, it is projected the board will have 4 months in reserve. As indicated in the meeting materials under provisions of pharmacy law, the board shall seek to maintain a reserve equal to approximately 1 year's operating expenditures. We will continue to closely monitor our fund as projections indicate a slow depletion of the fund rather than moving to approach the 1-year reserve called for in the law. Members, any comments on and questions on the budget report? Moderator, please open the line for public comment.
The Q&A panel is open. If you'd like to comment on this item, please click on that Q&A icon on your screen and submit the word comment to our panelists. Seeing no requests, I will close the panel.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the next item is board member attendance and mail vote information. Attendance is summarized in attachment 2. Further, attachment 3 includes mail vote information. Members, any comments or questions on the attendance and mail vote information? Okay, moving on to moderator, if you could please open the line for public comment.
The Q&A panel is open again. If you'd like to comment, follow the instructions on your screen, submitting the word comment to our panelists. And seeing no requests, I will close the panel.
Thank you. Okay, next item is personnel update. As detailed in the meeting materials, the board has a number of vacancies, including several leadership and senior management positions. However, recruitment for many of these positions is delayed because of budget concerns. I'm closely working with Anne on this issue. Hopefully we'll have some updates. Members, next item is meeting calendar for 2022. Attachment 4 includes the meeting calendar for the remainder of 2022. Thank you again to everyone for the continued commitment to the board and all the work you do. Members, any comments? Okay, moderator, please open the line for public comment for the personnel and meeting calendar for 2022.
The Q&A panel is open. To request a comment, use that Q&A feature and submit the word comment to our panelists. And seeing no requests, I will close the panel.
Thank you. All right, so next item on the agenda and last item for the day is Executive Officer Report. Members, I will now ask Anne to provide a report, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, members. So I have a lot of information detailed out in the memo, so I'm not going to go over a lot of it. I'm just going to highlight a few points for you. With respect to broad waivers, in response to the recent Omicron surge, we did, through President O's delegated authority, we did kind of reissue some waivers that had previously been expired, and these were really primarily around those that promote social distancing. Also, as President O just announced, one of the regulations that was recently approved was the pharmacist initiating and administering vaccines. You may recall we have a waiver in that area. So I'll be working with council on the best way to wind that waiver down and be advising licensees with the transition to the permanent law. The waiver is no longer necessary. We also did issue a waiver. I say we, President O issued a waiver through his delegated authority specific to prescriber dispensing of the COVID-19 therapeutic medications from the ER. And I wanted to advise all members that we recently amended and reissued that waiver to provide additional clarity to the provisions of the waiver as well as to allow for the use of the of an ads machine for that, and excluding it from licensure if it is for purposes solely related to the use of the waiver. We do continue to do site-specific waivers, again, in response to the Omicron variant. Working with President O, we have really reprioritized field staff to really focus on writing cases and mediating cases as opposed to doing a lot of field work right now. So unless there is an issue of imminent public harm, we're kind of staying out of the field for a period of time. So we are experiencing an increase in site-specific waivers for those licenses that require an inspection as a condition of renewal. So we're using the similar desk audit process that we used early on in the pandemic as well, and that is allowing us to continue to meet our consumer protection mandate while also ensuring continuity of patient care and safety of both our staff and pharmacy personnel. With respect to operational changes, in addition to what I discussed with our field staff, office staff, we do continue to use a rotational telework model. We are transitioning as the state updates its telework provisions. We are transitioning to those new rules, which are very similar to what we were already implementing. The board has been in compliance with the governor's directive. State employees are required to either provide proof of vaccination status or undertake weekly testing. So we've been doing that for a couple of months at this time. I do want to highlight that as board members, you are considered a state employee. So if you're going into a state building or for purposes of our meetings, you will either need to provide proof of vaccination status or be tested. And I believe the Deputy Director Holmes discussed that as well. If you have any questions on how to provide that proof of vaccination status, please feel free to reach out to me, and I'm happy to get you in touch with Human Resources. So with that, President O, I don't have any other comments on the pandemic. If you're all right, I'll move on to the Cures update, and then we can go to public comments.
Sounds good. Thank you, Anne.
Okay, thank you. So Cures, I wanted to make sure that everyone is aware that the Department of Justice has awarded a contract for the prescription data collection services to a new vendor. So it's currently Atlantic and Associates. It's going to be transitioning to Bamboo Health. This change becomes effective February 9th. So that's a pretty short turnaround time. So there's been a lot of communications that have been going out, both by the Department of Justice as well as the board. We have been using our subscriber alert system to advise licensees of the changes, sending out notifications. We've updated our website on the Cures page as well, flagging it as kind of a banner, and then have included the registration information. So as part of this transition, all dispensers that report to Cures are going to need to register in a new system, this for Bamboo Health. As of this morning, it's my understanding 71% of all dispensers are registered in the new system. So hopefully well on our way to meeting that target to ensure a smooth transition to the February 9th date of transmissions to Bamboo Health as opposed to current Atlantic and Associate. I did include in the meeting materials the 1-800 number for any licensees that are experiencing challenges with the registration process and or have questions about how this is going to impact their transmissions of their Cures data. It's in the chair report. It is also on our website. So with that, I will conclude my report. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you for all you do, and we really appreciate all the work you do. You do an amazing job. I cannot say enough, and I will keep saying it over and over again. So thank you for all you do, and also for all the councils and staff. You guys do an amazing job. So with that, that is it for today, members. And it's been a fun day.
Oh, this is
Yes.
Eileen.
Public
sorry
comment?
to interrupt.
Yes. Okay.
Are you
go
going to
ahead.
open
Sorry.
it up for public comment?
Yes. Okay. Public comment for Anne's report, please, moderator.
This is the moderator. Our Q&A panel has been opened. If you'd like to comment, please click on that Q&A icon, type comment into the text field, and submit that to our panelists. Our first comment comes from Daniel Robinson. Daniel, I've sent the request to unmute your microphone.
Bring up a potential future agenda item.
I don't believe, Eileen, I think that would be out of order, unfortunately.
President O, that would be out of order unless you wanted to open it up completely to public comment for everybody to submit additional notices, but other people didn't get notice that would be on the agenda again.
Okay, I'll take that as a no.
Sorry for that.
And not seeing any other requests, I will close the panel.
All right. Thank you, Shelley, for doing an amazing job. Thank you, everyone. And it's been a fun day, and I appreciate everyone's hard work. And so due to technology, we don't need to do this because the closed session is not for today. So we are done for the day. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend.
Bye-bye.
And,
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
and next meeting is in
Bye.
March.
Thank you.
So we'll see you in March.